I am Brittany Jones, 19744-100, and in this documentary I will be discussing climate change, effects on individual species, humans, and ecosystems. What is climate change?
Climate change is the air, water, and land on this earth, and they all depend on the atmosphere. This is due to gas exchange. The gas exchange has the biggest effect on the Earth's climate, or average weather. These are also known as greenhouse gases.
Effects of climate change.
In this graph, it shows carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere, and they have increased to 412 parts per million, which is a new high, and they haven't been this high in 6,500,000 years. Something else that is affected by climate change is the temperature. It has increased at 1.9 Fahrenheit since 1880. This is one of the warmest years we've had since 2001. This next graph is an example of the Arctic ice decrease. Has gone down 12.8% in the last decade, and it was at its lowest in 2012. Ice sheets have also decreased by 413 gigatons per year. This has been seen and recorded by the Earth satellites. Rising sea levels have also become more and more of a problem. Due to ice melting, it has increased at 3.3 millimeters per year. Over the past 100 years, sea levels have risen to 178 millimeters. What is causing climate change? According to the Intergovernment Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, they believe that the top cause of climate change has been due to humans, as rapid warming has been increasing. These effects also pose significant problems for humans living now, and they will only get worse for the future. Climate change doesn't only affect humans alone, it also affects the environment and biodiversity. Climate change affects so many aspects of life. For example, these include the environment and biodiversity. Our planet is getting hotter with more and more greenhouse gases we burn. The major thing that affects temperature change. This can be seen as ice is melting at a faster rate. For example, glaciers have shrunk and also ice is breaking up earlier than expected on rivers and lakes. This rises sea levels. As the ice is melting, animals have also moved their habitats and plants have repollinated to new areas, and this has caused them to flower faster than they are meant to. Within New South Wales, the temperatures have been increasing to extremes, and this has caused severe droughts all across New South Wales, so therefore decreasing rainfall. With the hotter temperatures also means rising sea levels, increasing the risk of flooding. These all have effects on water within the Murray-Darling. Ecosystems are stressed due to the rising temps. The ecosystems that are most at risk include coastal, alpine, rainforest, fragmented terrestrial, and also areas with high fire risk or no freshwater availability. Due to these problems, species may become endangered or may even become extinct. This is caused when they are in the upper limit of their temperature range. Biodiversity have had to carry out many adaptations to be able to survive, as if they didn't, many more species would be extinct, and we would not have the variety of animals that we have today. The overall temp has risen 1 degree Celsius, and this has had a major effect on species. The thing that affects the most will be the abundance, genetic behaviour, and also the survival. This will then majorly decrease the populations. Loss of species can be caused by carbon sinks. This will decrease the likelihood of bouncing back from climate change. There are many ways to prevent this, and these guides include the IUCN Red List and the ICUN SCC guidelines, and these are used for assessing species and the most of all, how vulnerable species are to climate change. And also, the other tool is an integrated biodiversity assessment tool. Australia and climate change. Currently, in Australia, we are facing our worst bushfires in history. The bushfires were mostly started from lightning strikes. However, the way that they have spread and have moved so far across Australia is due to drought caused by climate change. These bushfires have been burning since September 2019 and continue to burn into early 2020. Because of the amount of land that has been lost, it is around 10 million hectares, which will take years to rebuild. The loss of native animal species have been majorly affected, was estimated at 1.25 billion. These species included koalas, which have been most affected, kangaroos, wallabies, kookaburras, cockatoos, and honeyeaters. Here's a short clip of Scott Morrison, Australia's Prime Minister, talking about action plans for climate change.
And Australia is taking actions on emissions reduction. We are a signatory to the Paris Agreement, and I can come back to that. The second one is our climate change action in relation to resilience. Our emissions reduction targets can be higher or lower, but the fact is the next 10 years and beyond, we're going to be living in a very different climate, and we need to prove our resilience in response to that on the ground through a range of measures which have both state and federal responsibilities. And the third is the climate change adaptation.
There are many countries experience harsh effects of climate change, and the one I will be focusing on is Lagos, Nigeria. They face extreme risk to climate change as their population is increasing, so therefore they become very vulnerable. They have been known to be one of the fastest growing cities in the world. So therefore, this really puts a lot of problems on infrastructure and resources, increasing the demand for more pollution pumped into the atmosphere, increasing the risk of climate change. Climate change also poses as a threat to the economy and forces people out of the city to the countryside. Also, they are at risk of rising sea levels that can lead to erosion and will often lead to contaminated water. All of these elements go hand in hand from climate change affecting one country in many aspects. Thank you for listening.